Here's my first page. You're in a dark room. There's a light switch and a lamp in a bottle. It's got some black and white writing. Black writing on a white background. It's kind of boring. My text box is kind of jammed into the top here. I want to fix all that. And I'm going to use CSS to make everything look a lot nicer. I'm going to take my input and put it after my writing. Let's I put it down here. Update preview. There we go. And you see how the writing's jammed right into the corners? I want to put a bit of a margin around everything. And I want to make my background a dark color, maybe a very dark brown or a black even. And then if my writing's black and I have a black background, we're not going to see the writing. So I'm going to need to change the color of the writing. To do that, I am going to make something called CSS. CSS is a way to style the page. So I'm going to put in a style tag and I'm going to say that type is equal to, in quotes or between like single quotes if you like, text/CSS. Then I put my CSS in here. I'm going to start off with the body. The body is everything that we see here. The body, open bracket, close bracket, I could say that I want a background color. So background, color. Nope, I didn't spell it right. There we go. It changes a nice purple color. Background color, I can go and pick a color. Now I can just say a color like black. Update preview, there we go. My background is now black. For colors, you can put any color you like. Any color you can name, cyan, update preview, there we go. Cyan is this. If I wanted blue, like that, update preview, or navy blue, just navy, and update preview, there we go. You might want to get more specific, and if you do, I just go and ask my friend Google, who knows all, sees all. Just say color picker. It's going to bring me to something like this. I can pick any color I like. If I wanted a very dark green like this, I could just go and grab either the hexadecimal, the RGB, even these guys I can grab. But I'm going to grab the hexadecimal. That takes a lot less room. And I'm going to go back to my Tumblr. This is my background. And then update preview, and see, it makes it that nice dark green. Now the issue is I can't really see my writing because I have very, very dark green background with a very, very black writing on top of it. I could change the writing. Now my writing is sitting inside a paragraph. I could have the writing sitting inside a span, if you like. Spans are nice. Paragraphs put a line after everything you write. Once you finish the paragraph and then you make another paragraph, it actually puts a space in between everything. A span doesn't do that. That's the difference between a paragraph and a span, but I could just change that to a span like that. Then I'm going to close, when I close it, instead of closing the P, I close the span like that. And up here, I'm going to call it my span. This body refers to everything in the body, right? I want to refer specifically to this span. Like let's say I had two spans. I could just say, all my spans should behave this way. So span, I can say that all my spans should be, the color of the writing should be red. So color is red. Update preview, there we go, I've got red writing. Let's say I made another span. In your dark room, there's a light switch and a lamp in a bottle. That says there is also a bookshelf with hundreds of books from floor to ceiling. Unless I wanted that to be in another span, right? And the only reason you'd do that is if you'd want to make these appear differently. If I made another span, call that one my span, I'm going to call this one my span 2. At the end of all that, paste in the close of the span. If I update the preview, notice there's also a bookshelf with hundreds of books. It's red because all my spans are red. That's what saying span like that just says. Anytime you have a span, make it red. That's my only CSS. If I wanted to refer specifically to my span, I could say my span like this, and I put a hashtag in front of it to say I'm talking about the one named my span. If I wanted to make that one red and I wanted to make my span 2 yellow, update preview, there we go. Now we can change the colors of very specific bits of text. I want to put a margin in because this is jammed way up in the corner. In the body tag, I'm going to make a margin like that. And I could say, make the margin, 50 pixels like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to put a little space between the edge of the page and whatever we've written. And that space is going to be 50 pixels. If I shrink the page down, notice I can never get closer than 50 pixels with the edge of the page. If somebody does adjust the size of the page, they don't lose your writing. It just resizes nicely. I could also change the font in a span. Font family is, and then in a font family, you start off with exactly the name of the font that you want, and then what you do is you walk it back to the the more popular fonts that looks like the font that you want, all the way down to either serif or sans serif. Serif is, if I put a serif, let's make the font size really big for the red writing. Font size, make it 50 pixels. Update preview. So this is serif. Serif has, if you look at the T or the H, you've got these little bars sticking out. Like you've got this little, that's called a serif. Okay, like the I, you've got a little tiny thing that's hanging out. On the L, you've got a little thing hanging out. But the other kind is called sans, like that. There it is. Notice it doesn't have any of those little doohickeys sticking out at the top of the U or off of the H. That's the difference between serif and sans serif. These are the two most basic fonts. Font families, what you do is you kind of group a whole bunch of fonts together, starting with the font that you want. If I wanted this to be like a really scary looking font, I could go and find something scary. To use any Google font, I'm going to go into Google, and I'm in Google Fonts, and I'm going to look for scary. Nope, I'm just going to go to a different page, and I'm going to look up scary Google fonts. Creepster, Flesh Eater, looks like Port Eater. Okay, this looks like fun. So let's try one with this one, and it's called Eater. I'm just going to go over to my W3 Schools, and it's showing you how to do it. And I'm just going to say, hey, try it yourself. So the font family I'm after is Eater. Like that. And run, and there we go. It allows us to use any font that we find inside the Google Fonts. And I'll put the link to the Google Fonts on the portal. Copy this code back to my Tumblr, way up here in the HTML. I'm going to put in this code with the name of the font that I'm using, and then my font family, I'm going to say in quotes here, like that, and then comma sans serif. Update preview. There we are. Now that font is super huge. It's at 50 pixels. I'm going to bring it down to 20 pixels and update. And there we go. All right, so the next thing is I want to get a picture of a light switch in here, and I want to get a picture of a lamp in a bottle. I'm going to go and find those two things, light switch, and we're looking for images. This one will do. I'm just going to Shift Control Command 4 and take a picture of that. On your iPad, you can take a screenshot, or you can tell it to save into images, and then you can edit the image on the iPad. I'm on my computer, so I've just selected exactly what I wanted, took a picture of it. And then in preview, I'm just going to press Command N for new, and there's my image. I could crop it. I could remove parts of it. On the iPad, this is very easy. You can do this in any of your photo editing. In the photograph, you can edit the photograph. There we go. Save that. Save, and I'm going to call it Switch, and I'm going to put it on my desktop. Then I need to get a picture of a bottle, lamp, in bottle. I could control click on this, and I could open image in new tab. So it opens it up to its full size in a new tab. I can just go and grab that. Shift Command Control 4. I can go into my preview, Command N for new, and there it is. I don't feel I need to edit this anymore. If you want, you can. Bottle. There we are. So I need to get these pictures into my Tumblr. I go back to my main Tumblr page, and I'm going to make a photo post of my bottle. I'm going to make another photo post. I actually have to say post. That's huge, though. I might want to shrink that down. Let's post that. I want the light switch. Do the same thing, make a photo post, and I'm going to upload the switch. I want to get the address of this, so I'm going to hit my control button and then click on it, and then I'm going to copy the image address like that. Inside my Tumblr, I want to put an image on the screen. I'm going to put this image in a div. A div is a division of the screen. So div, I'm going to call this switch div. So ID is equal to, open quote, switch div, and close that. And then I'm going to put my image. So img for image, and src for source is equal to, and then I'm going to put in my image source in here, and then I'm going to close it. I'm going to put a little alt. So alt is equal to a picture of a switch. Alts are used for people who can't see, they can roll over the object and it'll tell them the description of what the object is. I'm going to paste the code for the switch. So it's long, but it shouldn't be pages long. It should be about this long. Then if I update the preview, there's my switch. A couple of things I can do. I might not want the switch here. I might want to move it around. I'm going to use my CSS to do that. I might want to resize this image. Let's say that image is way too big and I want it smaller. I could say, okay, hashtag, I want to refer to the image. And my image, did I give it a name? I didn't. So let's give it a name or an ID. So I'm going to say ID is equal to switch img for image, switch image. That's my ID. In my CSS, I'm going to say hashtag switch image. And then I'm just going to say that the width is equal to 100 pixels, like that. And look what happens when we update the preview. Nothing, because I wrote width is equal to 100 pixels instead of a colon and a space. There we go. Update the preview, and then it switches. Makes it 100 pixels wide, or I can make it 50 pixels wide. Update the preview. Okay, now it's 50 pixels wide, but notice that the height is also adjusting, so it remains proportionally sized to the original. Notice I've only referred to the width. If you refer to the width and the height, then you have to do the math. But if you just pick one of them, it will do the math for you and make it proportional. That is in one place, but let's say I wanted to move it to the center of the screen or down here. I have a div. I put that inside a div, and it's called switch div. Is I can tell my switch div, hashtag switch div, or I can tell it that I want it to be its position. Position is absolute. Okay, right now the position is relative. It just goes relative to what came before. It just goes next and to the left side of the screen. Absolute is we can tell it exactly where to go by specifying top or bottom, how far from the bottom, how far from the top you are, how far from the left, or how far from the right. And you only need two of these, like top and left, or top and right, or bottom and left, or bottom and right, but you have to combine ones that are verticals and ones that are horizontals. So the top, let's say I want it to be, let's say 100 pixels from the top, and let's say 100 pixels from the left. And then if I updated the preview, see it goes, see it's 100 pixels from the top and then 100 pixels, and it kind of gives you that point. So let's say I want to move it a little bit further down. I could just say from the top I wanted 200 pixels, like that. And then you can move it wherever you want on the screen. That's what the div does for you. Let's say I want to do the same thing with my bottle. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to go to my bottle post, Control, click on it, copy the image address, back into my Tumblr, and then I'm going to make another div. Here, I'll just paste that in just for a second. I'm just going to copy everything about my other image and paste that down here. Then I'm going to take all of this information, the address of my image, and say that my image source is going to be all of this stuff. Paste it there. This is going to be called bottle image and bottle div, update preview. Okay, that's huge. I want to make it the same width. I could do that. I could just say, well, my bottle image, I could just copy everything about my switch, copy and paste, and change switch to bottle. I'm going to move it, let's say 200 pixels over from the left. That is not on top of the switch, and there we are. Here's my switch, here's my bottle, but that's it. That's how you can resize objects, move them around, color things, like you can color your text, you can color the background, you can make a background image. Let's say I wanted to make, I wanted to tile this in black tile. I don't even know if that's a thing, but let's go and have a look. Black tiles. Groovy, there we go. So I'm going to grab that, but I'm after Shift Control Command 4. Now let's say I take too much of it. Let's say I took all of this stuff, or I downloaded it. You could download it too. You can just right click on it and save image as. But let's say I copied all that and I go to paste it into my preview. There it is. I can resize it in here. I can go to my tools. To get to the tools, you go to tools, and then I could go to, I don't know, adjust size or adjust color or something like that. And when you do, it opens up all these tools here. So I'm going to go to this tool, or I could go to my cropping tool, but I'm going to go to this tool, my rectangular selection tool, and then I'm going to select exactly what I'm after. Let's say I just want those tiles, and I want them to repeat over and over again. So I'm going to go from there to there. Then I'm going to click the crop button, and that's my image. File, save. I'm going to call it black tile, like that. And then I'm going to paste that into my Tumblr, into this version of the Tumblr. And I'm going to go to make a new photo, post, and upload my black tile. Click post. And then I'm going to right click on that to get the image address. So copy image address back into here. I can do that up here in my body. I can say background image. My background image is going to be, I think I have to put a URL like that, open bracket, close bracket, and then I put the name, just update the preview and see, and there it is, totally worked. Now let's say I wanted smaller tiles, I could specify that back in here, back in my preview. I could resize this. Tools, I'm going to go to adjust size. You can't see that, I'm sorry. So right now it says 860 by 516, but I could make it much smaller. So I'm going to bring it down to, like, let's say 300, and automatically it makes the height 180. Save that, black tile again. I'm going to go back into my Tumblr, and I'm going to delete this post and make a new post. So I want a photo post, and I'm going to upload the photo, and it's going to be my new black tile, which is much smaller. I have to click the post, there we are. And then control click and copy image address back into the Tumblr, and then replace the address with all of this. Update preview, and then my tiles look a lot smaller and much nicer. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of different things like that you can do. That's how you can use CSS to make things look nicer. You're not stuck with the black writing on the white background. You can put any color writing, any type of writing, any size writing you want, with any kind of background you want, with images, with buttons, with text areas, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. All right? And if you have any questions, send them my way.